Hey, good morning. Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Dragonmark Symphony. I am Dylan, your GM for today.
Live
Early
at
in the
9
morning,
a.m.
so we're kicking, ready to go off.
It's the itter that was for me.
Last time we all met, there was quite an encounter to be had. As you all know, currently our story is has taken us to the city of Galt in the nation of Boundair, where our heroes
Hey,
are currently on their way to the city of Passage, is where they're attempting to get to. But they've made a stop in the town of Galt on their way there. And while stopped there, they visited a local saloon. They ran into an old acquaintance of theirs by the name of Cassowary Dubois, and had a very interesting conversation with him, wherein there was some suspicious activity uncovered. It seemed that Cassowary had some secrets that he was still keeping, as he was attempting to remain anonymous and aloof. There was also a note that was discovered written in Elvish language that appeared to directly reference Silva. And the note had a statement on it that said, "If she is the one, place this glass upside down on the table. Marked the Autumn Queen, death to the Summer King." Before the group could get additional information out of Cassowary, they were called by Feline, the deputy to the sheriff of the town, to come quickly to the jail cells / the sheriff's office. When they went over there, they discovered that the Sheriff Mauser was there, along with the werewolf that they had narrowly avoided when they were spending the night at the local Gold Dragon Inn south of them. The werewolf attacked, breaking into the jailhouse there, and seemed to violently murder Dak, a member of the party. Though it was later discovered that due to some dice-based trickery and shenanigans, that in reality a exact clone of Dak had appeared at the moment that the werewolf struck, and by virtue of a coin flip, our Dak survived while the other Dak was brutally murdered in the street.
Ooh. I mean, that's the thing. That's what made something so confusing and making so much more sense.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm just happy to be here, guys.
And we all breathed a sigh of relief that there are no other clones of our characters anywhere in the world.
Why did you say it like that? No.
So the werewolf attacked, and the fight spilled out into the main thoroughfare. It was a very tense battle, filled with slashing and biting and were-rats, plenty of were-rats for everyone to enjoy. During the battle, Silva was bit on the clavicle here, just above the collarbone, by the werewolf, which raised some questions itself, as most of our party is not entirely sure what happens when a being of Fey origin is bitten by a werewolf, especially this werewolf that doesn't seem to follow the traditional rules of lycanthropy that we are aware of. But the group was able to eventually defeat the werewolf without killing him outright. He returned back to his humanoid form, and the were-rats disappeared. The Mauser, the sheriff, decided that he was going to take the werewolf person and lock him behind the bars, as the bars that they keep at their jailhouse are magically enchanted. He believes he'll be able to keep them there, though the question was still raised of the were-rats themselves, and the possibility of them being able to sneak through those bars. it was determined that there were two things that the group should consider. First of all, Silva's condition, having been bitten by a werewolf,
Yeah.
the circumstances of which aren't fully clear, so it was suggested that they may want to pay a visit to an old wizard that lives in a tower on the far end of the thoroughfare. Just beyond where the vineyards begin. Since he may possibly have some answers on how her condition will actually play out. The other matter that was brought up was the acquisition of silver, as silver is widely believed to be a good deterrent against any lycanthropic creatures, werewolves, wereboars, otherwise.
So we just need to find a silver fork and just start scratching. I'll find out.
Yeah,
Starts
yeah, of course.
digging in.
Yeah. Or Mauser suggested that in order to get the silver that you need, you would have to speak with someone who is familiar with where silver deposits are. And it could only be the man with a silver hook on one of his hands. One Heebles a Dejeebles. The mysterious figure whose name is whispered, and who seems to send a shiver through the spine of anyone who recalls his presence. You were told that he would be the
Fusion
key
might
to
be a little
acquiring
more
the silver
accurate.
you might need.
The one that Set also coincidentally encountered in the tavern and just waved at.
Mhm.
Yes.
Indeed. And that is where we left off, with our group still out in the thoroughfare. People are beginning to leave. Many of the townsfolk had been ushered to stay inside the buildings by Feline and some of the other able-bodied folk. They begin to come out now, coming out to kind of see the commotion, to see the aftermath of what's going on. One of the townsfolk sort of runs forward and says, "Oh my goodness, my vegetable carts, they've all been destroyed. Somebody's gonna have to pay me for this. I'm gonna have to build a whole new cart. Well, what am I gonna do?" And he kind of falls down to his knees and picks up some of the broken remains of the cart and says, "I had this cart for 30 years. I can't believe it."
It was 2 days from retirement.
His old woman kind of comes up next to him and places a hand on his shoulder with a gentle pat. She says, "Oh, sweet Terrence, your cart's over there. That's not your cart." And he looks 10 feet to the right, and there's a completely identical cart sitting there, completely untouched. And he goes, "Whoopee!" He throws the pieces up in the air and runs over to it and hugs the cart and pats it. And meanwhile, another person standing next to them falls down to his knees and begins to sob and cry. And the old woman pats his shoulder and says, "I'm so sorry, Daryl."
Daryl, justice for Daryl.
Mauser and Feline. Mauser goes to the head of the figure, the person who was a werewolf not too long ago, and kind of grabs him up underneath the shoulders. Feline on the other end grabs his feet, and together they kind of lift him up. A couple of the townsfolk bring over almost like a stretcher, planks of wood laid out with like a fabric sheet laid over top of it. And they kind of haul him onto the stretcher, and then a group of 4 or 5 people sort of lead him into the jailhouse. A man in religious garb, long black dressings with a religious symbol around the neck, swinging loosely in the wind, looks out over the jail cell and says, "Quite a lot of damage done. That window will have to be repaired. I'll call the contractor and see if he can come in the morning to fix things up. Gosh, this is quite the mess." I hope you all right. At least it looked like you were a big part of that scuffle.
Gorsh.
Gorsh.
Dak is just standing next to his now deceased clone. Looking
You
down.
all right, son? You seem most troubled.
I've lost my twin. I never knew I had
I
until
didn't even
now.
know I had them. Yeah.
My twin that existed for all of less than 1 second.
Before he was got just absolutely obliterated. Dak doesn't really respond. He's psychological term would be freaked the fuck out. As he's staring down at his face all mutilated and such.
Preacher kneels down next to you and goes, "Gosh, son, let me tell you something very important. You know, long before I came under the care and overseeing eye of the sovereign, I was a lot like you, scared and confused, not sure of my place in the world. And I found that after a bit of soul searching and oh my God!" And he notices the mangled remains of the person next to you, which at this point have like melted and dissipated away. So now it is essentially like some of the remains of like a skeleton just laying down on the ground, already being consumed by the earth and time. And he goes, "Oh, geez, that's a skeleton."
That's a
Astute
skeleton.
observation.
Did he belong to you, child?
In a matter of speaking.
I believe the answer for that is to be yes.
I am so sorry, my son.
Dylan.
I imagine this must be a bit of a shock for you. If you would like, I'm sure we have additional space in our burial plot. We would be more than happy to contact the Undertaker and have a proper burial for your friend. And he reaches down with his fingers and he brings them over the eyeless sockets of the skull of the skeleton. Do understand that your friend, whatever pain they may have endured, they are at rest now.
If it is by your customs, then yes, that would be nice.
Kind of lean in towards Dak a little bit. It's probably best that whatever this was is buried and removed.
Laid to rest.
Buried and removed from sight as best as quickly as possible.
She is right. You know, time, much like my accent, has a way of changing so frequently. And you may not feel like it now, but as time passes, you'll see this moment not as a tragedy, but as a gift. It was a chance for you to appreciate the life that you do have.
I don't.
Do you
actually
see
say
what I
this,
mean?
But man, it's way less of a tragedy, just more of a confusing circumstance now, ain't it?
I do.
That's good. I've done about everything I'm capable of doing. I'm going to leave now. And he stands up and he turns and walks away. Neil, we're going to need the Undertaker. And also a carpenter. We're going to need a lot of people now that I think about it. And he kind
We
of
just hear
walks off to the field.
play in the background. Dun.
Yeah.
Looks
So
too-
everybody is gathering things, you know, they've taken the werewolf away to the jailhouse. People are beginning to split, you know, going off to do mutual things. For the moment, you have kind of been left to yourselves, just standing in this thoroughfare.
Dylan,
Yes.
what is my HP again?
Nah.
Your HP. Let's see.
Oops.
Let's get it started.
Better than the original version.
If my internet loads, we shall see if it loads. I believe your D&D, your character sheet should be accurate.
It says I'm at full health, so
It is not accurate.
Oh,
What happened? Hang on. Hang on. What happened?
that's why I know it was not accurate.
That was not that before. Well,
Impre-
hang on.
You didn't
Ooh.
press Alt F4 after you were done editing it.
I seem to recall somebody healed somebody else at the end of our.
oh yeah, I used a healing potion, like a greater healing potion on you.
Yeah, so
That's-
you are at full
yeah.
health.
So that was
You are at full
The
health
greater
because you
healing
were.
potion did all of my health. Damn.
Yeah, it rolled
Yeah.
really well.
That's what it was.
Okay.
You were only like
Cool.
half-ish, I think.
Oh, okay.
But you had like a werewolf bite, so I was like,
Yes,
"Ugh."
that's the main base part of it. Well, the description was like blood coming out of my neck, so that I think that's
Yeah.
also what caused alarm.
It's one of those like dissonance things with Dungeons and Dragons where it's like the monster slashed into your torso, ripped you apart. But then you took a healing potion, and so now
Yeah.
you're technically at
Well,
full
yeah.
health.
Well, yes, but it was just more of just more. I was more using that for the reason that Johannes was more alarmed at my condition.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, for the moment, y'all
Okay.
seem to be just alone to yourselves,
All
undisturbed.
right. Well, remind me of Hebel's Digibles.
Heebles Dejeebles.
Yes.
Heebles, Odajeebles.
So they were the one that was like just out in the road, right? The one that initially
They,
warned us about the werewolf.
No,
Um,
I thought you
yeah.
said they were a guy at the bar, right, Dylan?
They were the
At
person
the
with the
inn.
hook hand in the shady corner of the bar that waved
Of the
at me.
inn, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
It was not the farmer on the road. I don't
He's
think
a
we
completely
actually.
different guy.
I don't think we actually talked to him though.
I mean, we talked to him. He told us about the werewolf.
Yeah.
No, the farmer on the road we did, but not the guy in the inn.
Heebles of the Jeebles.
Evils of the Jeebles. No,
So wait, what do we?
we've,
I'm trying to remember. Sorry, like
He
I
and
was trying
Seth
to remember
exchanged
this from
looks.
last night. Where?
Yeah.
Where did we hear of Hebels and Digibles?
Oh, Mauser told us after
Yes.
he found out that you got bitten by a werewolf.
Yes, but we've heard that name before that.
No, so there was another conversation with Mauser before that. So before you guys returned back to the inn to talk with Cassoulet Dubois,
Yes.
there was another conversation you had with Mauser and Feline there. And it was during that conversation, because he was talking about be careful about going out at night. Be careful about, wandering about in the evenings, generally not a good idea. And it was during that Heebles and Digibles was initially brought up.
That he's gonna get us at night.
Well, just generally to avoid him at all costs.
But now, okay.
But now,
Yes, but now
that
now,
you are in need of silver,
now he's the
Mauser
expert.
has changed his tune
Yes.
and
Now
has
he's
said
the
that you
expert.
might need to go talk to him after all.
Okay. Right, so yeah. Okay, well, so yes, I would, as I'm sure alarming as this this copy of Dax seemingly is, first of all, prior to that, look at Johannes.
Yeah.
The only reason we stood any of a chance was because it was daytime.
Yeah. But did you see how strong Set was? I pat him on the back.
Yes, that's not to detract the good job we did, but I'm just noting.
Okay.
Yeah, I fucking kicked its ass.
It would appear as if the werewolf deadliness has been overblown, and that is all we need against all the werewolves in the world.
Well, I appreciate the sentiment, Dak.
A suit of armor in a crypt would say otherwise.
Yeah.
That just has a mortal weakness, which is a suit of armor in a crypt.
Only in a crypt.
Yeah, but also that werewolf seemed very different from what we were anticipating.
Very true. It is also likely that it still could be utilized. Like, there's inherently there's a lot to unwrap about that. Especially given that it was a werewolf transformed in the daytime, which, at least from a mythological standpoint, has some questions. Regardless, the conceivable threat, my well-being in mind, should probably still be checked on.
Agreed.
Even if I feel that my chances might be lower due to I feel kind of what you might have been alluding to, Set, of a strange circumstance surrounding this current werewolf that was in front of us.
Yeah, there's just a lot of strange things surrounding this encounter specifically.
The rats are a really good portion of that.
The rats, honestly, just everything about this werewolf. Like, are they supposed to revert back to human form after you beat the shit out of them? Or
There's something more sinister going on with this werewolf than anything I had heard about.
Yes. Though that's probably the one part of this encounter I would say might be the most normal.
oh, really? Okay.
But I don't know that for I can't confirm that 100%. It just seems like the thing that could happen, just based on other forms of shape-shifting. But yes, we should inevitably look into one of the options for dealing with trying to test my potential infection.
Your lycanthropic state.
Yeah.
Yeah, how we have a few options, Silva. What makes you feel the most comfortable? You were the one bitten by this werewolf.
Okay, so let's double check the options again. So we have the Heebles and Digibles.
Heebles of Digibles, and then like a cold wind passes over, thinking of like a hook hand.
A horse neighs in the distance.
Yeah.
Because they know where Silver is, right? That was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, or there's an old wizard up on the hill. That's about all we know.
Those are the two options we were given?
Yep.
Unless you know some other place to get silver.
Third option, but it would be more grim.
Explain.
What is that?
If we have set to put you out of your misery right now.
Okay, Dak.
gonna go
Well,
with no
I
on
can
that
see
one.
the wizard's tower from up there.
Dak, where'd you get that shotgun?
I came with my duster jacket.
Right.
Every time you buy a duster jacket, it comes free with one. It's inside the pocket.
Super tight.
Yeah, no, I mean, since there's not currently an immediate doesn't seem to be an immediate threat. We'll hold off on that one. I think the wizard potentially sounds like a good route.
Yeah, especially considering we can see where the wizard should be and have absolutely no idea where Heebles of the Jeebles is.
Well, we knew that he was at one point in the tavern, so
Yeah, but then he disappeared, and like we would have to go searching for them.
Unless the wizard and Heebles of the Jeebles, they're one and the same, and then like a lightning strike.
Well, in that case, it makes it even easier for us to just go to the wizard's tower.
I agree.
but then at
Let's-
that point, I feel like he would know that, and so then why would he give us
Yeah.
the option in the first
I
place?
know. Yeah.
Unless Mauser really just likes to screw with us.
But yes, well, are we all? Do we want to go now?
You know, sooner probably the better.
All right. Let's make our way to the wizard's tower.
Let's
Yeah, so at the-
start getting into the nighttime, and all of a sudden I start scratching behind my head with my foot.
It's perfectly alright if that happens. One could say that we are all set. And I look to set.
Good
I
night,
just
everybody.
stare
Yeah.
at Dag.
Like, I really appreciate the enthusiasm and like just the overall belief in me as a person, but you might be blowing it out of the water a bit.
I would say that I'm clinging on to this concept after the traumatic event that we just all went through.
You know what? I'll grant it to you. We'll just try and not do it every other sentence. I appreciate it. All right, let's get moving.
Understood. We are set to go.
Say,
Okay,
Let's make our way. Yeah.
I would say one thing I also forgot to make note of, which is it's not obviously on you because you can't see my notes when you're looking at like my character sheet.
Mm-hmm.
From like Bennett's side, because unfortunately you didn't know which tale I had
Yeah.
for my bardic inspiration, which was to give someone temporary hit points equal to the roll of my bardic inspiration die plus my bard level, and then also increase their walking speed by 10 feet and plus 1 AC.
Okay.
Granted, movement I don't think was the concern in that fight, but
Not only like turn one, I think. Yeah, but that would have been. It's good to know.
To kind of recant, so to give you guys an idea, you're in this thoroughfare. It's very much like this sort of the atypical like wild west old town style thoroughfare. On your left is where the saloon, the sheriff's office, the jailhouse is located. That is also where like the sort of the market stands were, where you were initially buying supplies and gear. All of that is kind of on the left hand side of this thoroughfare, and then over on the right, the buildings over there is things like the post office, some of the little more upkept like apartment buildings, residential spaces, and there's like this noticeable quality shift between the two, where the buildings that are on the right hand side of the thoroughfare are much more upscale, a lot more modernized, compared to the almost antique ramshackle along the left. And at the very end of the thoroughfare on the northern side of town, up upon the hill on that right hand side, is, you can see it from here because it's this very old stone tower. It's like marble white, round, and just jettisons up into the air a good like 50-60 feet up into the air at least, with no visible windows from the side that you're seeing. is just this large cylindrical tower that springs up into the air and is visible. And just, beyond that, off in the far distance is where you can just make out the beginnings of these, the massive, like, blue vine vineyards, that kind of make up sort of this outer region, of the town. So as far as getting to the tower, if you want to go there, it's not like a difficult thing. Like, you can see it very visibly, and you can just sort of head straight for it if you want to.
Let's
Yeah, I think that's the best
let's
idea.
make our way. Yeah.
Okay. All right, you all begin walking down the thoroughfare, heading towards the tower. As you do, a few of the townsfolk sort of take notice of you going along. You see one woman sort of
Begin to slow clap.
bows her head and whispers something to her husband. A young boy sitting on a porch looks out to all of you and says, "Good luck." And his mother quickly grabs him and goes, "Come inside, Rodney, come inside," and takes him in and closes the door behind them. As you are walking towards the tower, you see leaned up against a post, arms crossed, bit of a stern look on his face. You see Clarence, one of the shopkeepers that you had spoken with before. Sturdy build, thick black beard, ear length, black hair, tasseled. He's wearing a bowler hat, and as you approach, he sort of takes the bowler hat off of his head. You can see a bit of the bald patch at the top. And he looks to all of you and he says, "Where are y'all heading off to now?"
We're heading to the Wizard's Tower.
The wizard.
"The Wizard's Tower?" He kind of looks around at you, eyes wide. "You must be out of your minds. What would you want to go to that place for?"
We have a few magically inclined questions for them that we would need their help answering.
Yeah, the sheriff recommended. Why? Is there some sort of issue with this old magical folk?
Also, I'm a
Well-
wizard. Hold my book.
Well, we don't really like talking about it much, but I mean, there's a history with that. We like to. He hasn't bothered us in a while, and we kind of like to keep it that way.
Does I like look at him and like eye him up? Has he bothered you? How?
He's trying to sell me horse insurance.
He keeps asking me about that damn Jehovah's Witness.
Keeps
First of
asking
all,
me
horse
if I've-
insurance premiums were already high long before this wizard appeared.
He keeps asking me if I need to worry about my carriage's extended warranty.
Daryl could have used that.
Rest in
No,
peace, Daryl.
Clarence sort of clutching his bowler hat. It's like, "Oh gosh, well, look, it's just that you should probably know if you're really that set on meeting him. But that wizard, he wasn't always there. Many
Imagine
years
not.
ago, the our town was thriving. The vineyards, of course, were a big part of that. A lot of fancy folk moved over here from the city of Passage, and they started, building up the town, and we became this big economic strong point with our access to the vineyards. And then one day, the wildest thing, they found some sort of like magical spring nearby, like the darndest thing, like some kind of a well of untapped magic, straight from Eberron itself. I don't know what to make of it myself. I've never been no fancy magician man, but the people that were here, they got almighty excited about it, and these magic folk from Passage, they decided that they were going to build themselves this big old tower right where this magical well was. And they built it up, and it was like this big shiny beacon. And the main wizard in charge of it, he was, all talking about using the magic to create incredible new things, and the city would be a shining light, almost to rival Passage. But as time went on, people started to leave. A lot of them moved back to Passage. They grew. They felt like they had run out of resources to discover here, and the town that was once thriving started to sort of shrink back down a bit. But and a lot of the wizard folk, they left. They went back to Passage, or they even moved on to other places entirely. And then, but this one wizard, he stuck around, and he kept, working on things and tinkering away in that old tower. And rumors started spreading that he was conducting these experiments. He was taking, local wild animals and capturing them and taking them into the tower to experiment on them and do things with them. We just started to hear the strangest things, and then before we knew it, there were, cases of animals running around, but they weren't like normal animals. They were real intelligent and smart like we was. And they could talk, and they had feelings, and it was like nothing we'd ever seen before. And well, I mean, that's there was one evening where I heard somebody was a crying for help, and I went out past the edge of town there, and that's where I found Jezebel. And she was caught in an animal trap, and she was crying out for help like a normal person would. And I freed her, and I took her home, and she didn't have any parents or anything to speak of, and nowhere to stay. So, well, that's how I came to adopt her. Now she's my daughter, and she's just the sweetest thing there ever was. But it's hard for me to forget that she came from some wizard's machinations all that time ago. And I shudder to think how many other poor animals have been mistreated and left to fend for themselves because he was doing terrible things to them. All that to say that whatever his plans are, whatever he intends to do, we ain't heard from him in a while, and all I could say is better for it. And he spits on the ground.
I scratched my head, and I'm like, well, sir, I'm sorry the wizards tried to gentrify your hometown, but that doesn't really have anything to do with us. We just kind of need to ask him some questions. So we'll make sure he doesn't perform any more experiments on the poor folks out here, though.
If you do that, and if you do see him, you tell him that Jezebel's doing just fine without him. You tell him that.
Well,
Sure
we
thing, man.
will do that. I can't guarantee that he's going to know who Jezebel is. From what you've shared, it doesn't really seem like he has much thought going on behind this. If this
You
is all
ruined
his
my
doing, in
life.
fact, but
I don't even know who you are.
Well, I won't hold you back any longer if you're this set on going. Just be careful, all right? The thing about wizards is that they got magic and stuff, and that makes them dangerous. Except for the ones that
Oh.
aren't dangerous, like you. He kind
Oh.
of nods his head to Silva.
One
Thank
of the
you, by the
good,
way,
one of the
for
good
your help.
ones. You have a nice day, sir. I'm gonna
Thank
start
you.
walking.
And if you do survive, since you helped us out with whatever the hell that werewolf thing was in the center of town, I'm more than happy to provide a discount to y'all if you ever come shopping my way again.
We'll see about that. I like look over and he has like a flag with like a blue stripe in the middle. It's like non-magical lives matter.
That's not true. That's not canon. That's not canon.
Well,
You know it would be yellow with a rattlesnake.
Yeah.
no, I was gonna say. I mean,
No step on snake.
I mean, from like say from that perspective, his would be the one that would say the all lives matter.
Yeah.
Intelligent animal lives matter.
That's much more accurate. He leans more PETA than he does any of those other organizations. But yeah, he says, "Thank you again, sincerely. Thank you for all you've done to help the town, and best of luck to you."
Thank you for the heads up.
Mm-hmm. All right, and he steps aside, lets you continue on your way. Coming out of town, going up onto the hill, you can see where there was like this very clear paved gravel path that you've been walking, but you see the point where it sort of ends at the end of the thoroughfare. The path becomes less like paved and well taken care of, and becomes rougher and begins to wind a bit as you kind of go up onto the hill and walk over, and the tower looms ever larger as you get closer to it. Still no visible like entrance or windows or any kind of openings to it. It is just this like cylindrical tower, perfectly built, except for the fact that the brick and stone that it is made out of is definitely showing signs of age. It really doesn't take very long. I mean, maybe 20 minutes of walking or so before you find yourself at the very base of this tower.
All right.
And what's
There's
the
just a door.
like,
Or...
is there like how like wide is this tower like around?
Oh, if you had to guess at a diameter, make we'll say a perception check on this, because there's not like a math check. We should add that though. I should add a custom skill that's just math.
14.
Yeah, okay. You eyeballing it, you can see that like you took several steps to get around. This thing's gotta be like 40 feet in diameter, maybe somewhere around there.
Okay.
It's a very big tower.
And walking around the base of it, is there any doors or any opening?
As you walk around it, there are no visible doors or windows, any openings. It is just stone and mortar all around. Faded, but it's still very much that like white, almost more of like an eggshell white now. That's just consistent all throughout. Definitely easy to tell without even like an Arcana check that this tower, for how like well constructed it is, that it had to have been done by magical means, which would make sense.
Well, no doors. Silva, any ideas?
Any windows, anything like that?
No windows that you can see.
Give me a moment.
What if we hit it with a spell?
Yes, that's kind of what I'm looking into.
That seems very aggressive. Before
honestly,
we
not as much for
start
wizard.
start launching spells at this wizard tower, I'm just gonna try knocking. I'll just knock on the wall at the base.
All right. You reach your hand out and knock on the door. that doesn't exist because it's just a wall. You all wait for a moment, and there's no response.
We have to. I don't even know.
Fireball.
Throw rocks at. Yeah. cast, some,
Fireball.
cast some sort of magic. Prove our worth.
Give me a moment.
The wizard's cooking. Let the wizard cook.
Who has knock?
We have to wait for the light of a new moon to shine at a 12-degree angle.
These
on this
wizards
wall.
always have
So
something,
2009.
man. Yeah. Wizards these days are like they're wearing baggy pants.
Wizards these days.
with their Jinko jeans and their
They have baggy pants and crop tops now.
Well,
Didn't you hear that Wizard New Balances are cool now?
postmodern wizards.
right. For I inherently desire to expend spells of greater value, I should just start up by heading up. I'll begin flying towards the top, kind of up and around to try to see what I'm able to see on my way up as well.
Okay. All right. So with your initial movement speed of 30 feet, you wouldn't be able to get to the very top of the tower. There's still going to be a good 20 feet or so. Actually, no, closer to 30. As you're flying up, you're realizing oh, this is quite a bit taller even than we really could see when first approaching it. You're flying up. You're not seeing any visible signs of any kind of windows or openings. There's a couple cracks in the mortar that you're seeing here and there that appear to have just maybe appeared with age. But as you're flying up, it's such an odd thing. You don't know if it's a vision, if it's something wrong with your eyesight or something else is going on. But as you're flying up, it's as you get closer to the top of the tower, it feels like you can't ever quite reach it. It's continuing to grow taller and taller as you fly up to approach.
The stinking bastard.
To the point where you're this feels, if it's not some sort of optical illusion, then there's something else going on that I can't, no matter how much I fly, I can't quite reach.
And us from the ground, if we're looking up at Silva, is Silva just continuing to go up? Or does Silva reach a certain point and stop moving?
So kind of a similar thing. You see Silva flying up towards the top, and it's harder for you to see from your perspective at the ground level, but it does, she's flying up, but it seems like she's never reaching the top. The tower somehow manages to continue to be above her as she's sort of flying upward on an arc.
But I noticed there's these cracks in the mortar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How big
yeah.
are they?
This, probably the size of this pen. Similar thickness too. Almost like gashes, really. If you would like, you can either do a perception or an arcana check, whichever you prefer, to kind of take a look at these cracks.
We'll do arcana, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll an arcana check for me and see what you can uncover.
22.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Ooh.
These cracks, most normal people would look at them and assume that it was just wear and tear over time, but you can see that the surface of the cracks are blackened. They're not, they don't sort of they don't twist and turn the way that traditional cracks from movement or shifting over time would. They're much more uniform, slashes. They bear the mark of magically created, something a spell or some sort of magic property hit that point and created a crack within the wall. Possibly like a spell attack or some sort of an enchantment or something. But these are not naturally forming. These were made.
Kind of lean in, get kind of a little bit up towards the crack there. Excuse me.
No response.
This guy's not very nice, is he? He's not very welcoming.
No, well,
The town's.
as most wizards in a tower aren't.
I'm good. As soon as he comes out, I'm gonna be like, "Well, look who decided to come out of their cave."
Look who showed up.
Listen,
So Silva, when do we start firing magic at this thing?
a spell made a crack in this once. I'll make another one if you don't come on out.
We will
have
destroy your tower, old man.
I'm like
Oh.
specifically yelling into the crack.
Okay. I'll tell you
So
what.
I've got like my hand cupped
'Cause
like
you-
this.
Yeah, so you would hear this because you're right up to it. You would hear this. There's an extremely faint, like shimmering sound in the air, and also when you're shouting like right into the crack, there is an echo. There's a bit of a reverberation, like you're shouting into a cavern.
I know you're hearing me. This is a matter.
Is there anything like
This is a
outside
matter
the
of
tower?
other importance. Another wizard requires your help.
There's magical werewolf shenanigans afoot.
No response. The wind continues to blow outside.
I have a magical library card.
Johannes,
Yeah.
make a persuasion check for me if you don't mind.
13.
13.
I think Dylan just reached for a frying pan.
The wizard comes out. Have you heard of PUBG?
Have you ever actually run around and swung at somebody with a skillet? There's a reason that this thing is a one-hit kill.
Comes out in his Jinko jeans. You ever heard of Skillet? Uh,
Would you like to?
Sorry, that's wrong. They'd be Union Bay cargo pants. That's what it would be. Johannes, you mentioned that you have a library card, and you feel a bit of warmth in your pocket.
I reach in my pocket.
You reach in, and your hand automatically finds something thin, and you pull it out, and it is the library card that was given to you by Victoria Skeeble.
Yes. I can get 3 books a week. Surely we can make some sort of deal.
If it matters to you, pull out mine. I too possess a library card.
Silva, you feel a warmth on your person as well, and that shimmering sound that you're hearing that seemed to be coming directly from the tower itself, kind of it wubs a bit. It goes like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But it's very.
Oh, he's an
faint.
EDM wizard.
I put the library card into the crack,
Into the hole.
like a slot.
How far do you put it in?
Enough to just to my fingertip so that I could still grab it and pull it out. Like it just like
Okay.
enough to just like get it in, but then
You perceive, once invisible, you are able to see as it kind of spreads out about like 3 feet or so in a circle. But you, suddenly visible for a moment, ebbing and flowing, there is a magical barrier that covers this portion of the tower. And where you insert the card, it seems like the barrier sort of fluxes and shifts.
Hmm.
Of
Why
course
do these
we're all
always have
friends
to
with
make
each
it so
other.
complicated?
Let's fly down, kind of head towards the base more. All right, hold on.
Did you take the card with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of head towards, start kind of putting the card towards the wall. And kind of start like seeing if like I could kind of almost see through the barrier as I kind of go towards the base of it.
As you're bringing the card over, everywhere that you're placing the card and moving along with it, a good like 3-foot circle of the barrier becomes visible. Made of stardust and particles. It shifts and it fluxes. It's very thin, maybe an inch thick, and you're able to deduce that like it must be covering the entire tower, but it is made visible as your library card comes into contact with it. And indeed, the card itself has this like faint glow that begins to kind of appear around it.
What begins to appear a bit?
The card itself begins to glow as well. It has this like faint glow.
So all I'm seeing with it though is like a barrier, not like a different thing through it. Like it's not like creating a
Right.
window.
Correct.
All right, well, you have your card, so I kind of tried to just like further push the card into the barrier.
Make an intelligence check for me.
It'll be a 14.
14. You attempt to push the card further into the tower. And it's sort of causes the barrier to like, flex and move around it further and further. As you do so, you feel a tingling sensation happening in your mind, and it's growing and growing very quickly. I need you to make a intelligence saving throw for me now.
Okay. Oh, sick. It's a 6.
Okay. The tingling becomes piercing. Needles poking into your mind and spreading throughout from front to back. And you take you take 6 points of psychic damage as needles poke through your brain, rattling on the inside of your skull.
What's happening?
Kind of pull it out for a second. There's a bit of mental will required to push this card through this barrier. While
You want me to?
this card is revealing a thing about it, I don't know that it's necessarily actually like nullifying the barrier in any way. Most likely, whatever barrier is in front of this is definitely some type of protective field.
Dang. Wizard really doesn't want to talk to anybody.
Well, I imagine not, if inevitably some of the folk are going to be, whether truthful, like whether inherently correct or whatever, given that they don't seem to have necessarily the best outlook towards him.
That's fair. But we need to talk to him. Can I like walk around the tower and like see if there's anything that I noticed
Absolutely.
that I
Yeah,
didn't
I mean,
see before?
you're able to walk around. Like it'll take you a little while because it's very big, but like you can, walk around the entirety of the tower's base. And like there's no real visible signs of anything. It's even like the ground around it, it's a little unkempt. Nobody's like been around to cut away at like the leaves and the vines that are kind of growing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's definitely looks like it hasn't been touched in years, it appears. And but there's no areas where like any part of the wall has like broken away or any kind of like holes or anything recognizable as a way to get into the tower that's like visible.
I'm going to look at the tower and cast Magical Vision, which is
Okay.
Detect Magic.
Yeah.
See if that gives me any hints. And then I'll follow after Johannes as he's making his lap.
Yeah, unfortunately, the one that I was hoping to have was the difference of that
What?
one being Dispel Magic.
I don't really have any magical abilities, so
All right. Marshall, just as a heads up, you're coming in a bit quiet, my dude.
I moved the mic. It was partly because I moved the mic away from me.
oh
Gotcha,
yeah.
Gotcha.
He moved the mic way to breathe.
Right. A chocolate, right?
And we are live. And
What a reference.
what a pull. Sorry, I am pulling up my notes on a few things. Yeah. So you cast Detect Magic. The entire tower lights up. It is absolutely bursting with magical property. The thing about because normally Detect Magic, one of its benefits is that if it can, it will tell you the school of magic that is coming from it. You are detecting several schools of magic. There is enchanting, there is conjuration, there are faint hints of necromantic magic. There is all kinds of magics that are emanating from this point.
Gotcha. Is there a magic that's relatively in the shape of a door to indicate a different type of magic on a very different type of thing that's hidden away?
What a grand question.
No.
I can't believe it.
This cone of magic reaching up into the sky, there's no part of it that like is like enhanced or like stronger than the others that would dictate or like indicate that there is like an opening of any kind.
Gotcha. To Johannes, I do say, it doesn't appear as if there is a entrance disguised within the wall.
No entrance, no disguised entrance, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a big aspect of it, though, is this barrier inevitably is kind of a large aspect of that.
I'm going to cast correction on the wall, which is just mending.
All right, you cast mending on the wall. There's a faint shimmer of magic fed into the wall, which absorbs it. And it is quiet after that.
I'm gonna cast correction one more time. Gathering empirical data.
Again, magic releases from your fingertips, sucked into the wall of the tower. The tower does not change.
All right, now that I've been able to kind of recoup myself, I'm going to give myself attempt number 2 here. Wait, hold on. Let me double check something. Oh, yeah. Of course I can. Except
I'll be right back.
I am going to first cast guidance on myself.
Nice.
Well, was the intelligence check part just for determining the thing about the wall?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, then that's actually moot. Then I don't need to do that. It's not gonna, because it's not gonna affect the save part.
Yeah. It was the save specifically was the effect that the
Push
wall
it
had
forward
on
with the card again.
All right.
So I need to make another intelligence save.
Yes, you need to make another intelligence saving throw.
All right. I'm gonna hope for better this time. That's 17 this time.
Okay. You push the card up against the wall. You hit solid wall. And you're just like basically just like rubbing it on the wall at this point. Just like, come on, something. Look at the card under your hand. Examine it.
Gives you business hours.
Do you remember? So, like, when you all first received these cards from Victoria's Skeeble, do you recall like what was on them?
On the cards?
You know, outside of the you're free to borrow up to 3 books per week. Otherwise, not much.
Mm-hmm.
Don't recall much else.
I don't remember the inscriptions on the card. I felt like there was something interesting, like funny on there, but
Are fake names.
There's there's your fake names. Obviously there was a real name on the card initially that was crossed out, and then your new name was scribbled over top of it. There is also a section up in the corner where like an identification photo would have been of the person who owns the card. In this little rectangle, looking at it, there's no person there. The rectangle becomes blank. And peering into it, you see through the rectangle, and you're like squinting because you're like, what is in this tiny little rectangle? It's like an inch by inch, but you see a little bit into, looks like a hall, like a circular hall, and you see candles on like a table nearby.
Like inside the card?
Inside the rectangle where like the identification photo would have been on the card.
and it's like a moving image, like it's like a keyhole, sort of.
So I kind of move it around to see like.
As you move it around, you're seeing like a different perspective. Looking through this tiny little portrait, there is like it's a room, a circular room with like several tables, and there's candles lit. And you keep moving it until you hit a blockade of like solid wood that is aged. You kind of shift it around a bit, and then you find now that there's like this steel knocker that you would normally see on like a large door
Steel.
that you can just make out a part of it, but as you like move the card around, you're able to see, you know, different parts of it, shifting it around.
Which part I can move?
You're moving the card around, and
Sorry.
everywhere you move the card, you're seeing, like, as you shift it, you're seeing parts of what appears to be like a large steel knocker that would be usually present on like a large door.
Hold on. So, as I say, because this is kind of just like the size of like this card is like a normal card size, like a credit card size, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pull it out. Well, maybe I don't need to pull it out, I guess, actually.
Because you've got it out already, yeah.
Yeah. I meant like away, but
Sure. Yeah, towards you.
I cast
What?
enlarge on the library card.
Excellent. The library card expands out until it is the size of like a small poster, like a 14 by 11 poster in your hands. The photo ID portion of the card now is closer to like 4 inches by 4 inches. And looking through it, you're able to perceive much more of this like steel knocker on top of like an enormous wooden door built into the wall of the castle.
Yes. Am I able to at all squeeze my other hand through? Try to hit the knock. See if I can get the knocker.
You try to. Are you trying to like reach through the rectangle of the photo ID?
That would be first.
Okay. You attempt to do so, and you're not able to. You hit solid. The ID is still fully solid.
Now I just try to go around it. So just try to
Sure.
reach through in and
Yeah,
see
over
like,
and around,
yeah.
and you reach over,
do
and
this, like this
your
kind of thing.
yeah, you kind of reach over and around, using it as like eyesight. And as your arm comes around, it becomes skeletal,
Whoa.
completely see-through. Reaching around, and you are able to reach to where your hand finds purchase on this door that you weren't able to perceive beforehand. And you find like the steel knocker sitting there.
All right, and then I just
All of you hear
Yes.
and Silva,
yes.
a voice pops up into your head. Wizard be or wizard thee? A door opened for wizard to see.
The bard in me wants to just be like wizard me.
Wizard the Stallion.
The rest of you do not hear this voice. You just see Silva with this enlarged library card reaching around it, has sort of knocked something invisible on the side of the wall.
I mean, do I get a response from that?
What did you say to it?
The wizard me.
You said wizard me?
Because I'm
Um,
hitting the rhyming scheme.
Yeah. There's a pause where you don't hear anything, and then the shimmering sound sort of intensifies, and you hear "Wizard me, yet wizard see." How can wizard be if wizard thee, wizard see me?
In like early morning riddles.
Um.
Of things that Marshall are really bad at. I'm like the worst at riddles.
You hear the voice again. Speak, wizard, as wizard be. Wizard thee, produce the wizard's key.
The wizard's key. Does he mean magic?
I don't know. I mean, like,
Why do these wizards always have to do this? Can't we just like meet? Could bring him like a basket of like fresh fruits.
this is why I became a bard.
Only Silva's hearing this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean,
We're all
I'll
standing there looking up.
just use my
Silva.
like. I was gonna say. I mean, I'll just use like my like hand, just to cast like light. See if he's asking for a spell. Wizard me gives you a key to see.
Okay.
So illuminate
Make
the
an
knocker.
Arcana check for me.
Sick. It was gonna be a 16, and then it rolled to that 3, so it's a 9.
No.
No. Excuse me. Sorry.
Radical. You rolled a 9, which beats an 8. You cast the light, and looking through the enlarged library card, the light looks different there. It breaks off into tendrils that shift and interweave with each other, interlocking. They twist and form, producing an illuminated key of solid light. It goes into the door and opens. And now all of you see the barrier fluctuates and becomes visible
Whoa.
before dissipating once again. And where there was once solid wall, an open doorway now appears. Wizard thee, how wizard be? Providing light, provided the key. Enter now, but caution in need. For wizard, be wizard, beyond wizard of thee.
That's true in a lot of aspects. All right, everybody. Let's make our way in.
All right. I follow everybody in.
Everybody
lets
in the
the,
tower getting inside.
Set lets the green crackling energy that he had summoned to his hand die down and just kind of drop limply down to his side and walk in.
You all walk through the entryway, which is like pitch black. Walking in, it is like blackness all around you, an absence of light. But as you continue walking, a lone candle in the distance is visible, flickering, until you see more candles. Some of them on tables, others floating in the air. And as you walk through, the air around you becomes more and more visible until you find yourself in an immense circular room, the walls lined with bookshelves, the bookshelves filled with books and scriptures. There are several tables strewn about, chairs, many of them aged, floorboards impeccably polished, and you are greeted to a curious sight. Walking forward, you are in a room filled with books, but occupied
But no books.
by dozens and dozens of owls of various species and colors and sizes.
My
And as you
happy
approach, all of the owls simultaneously turn to look at you.
Oh, is that?
Mm.
Do some of them have their backs to us and their heads just full on like turned?
Yes.
Ah, that's sick. I love that. Dak tentatively raises a hand to wave hi.
uh,
My happy place. Many owls. Must resist urge to only spend time with owls.
The owls
Are they
look at
doing
all of you,
anything?
wide-eyed.
Do they
I mean,
do anything,
I was
or
gonna
are
say,
they just looking at us?
Is there no like? Is this like the end of the room, if you will? Like, there's not like a hallway that this leads to, or anything like that.
There is a door on the other end,
Oh, okay.
that is closed. But most of these owls are between you and the door.
Well, I'll just continue.
Positioned
walking.
on the tables, on chairs. A couple of them are clinging to the candles that are floating in the air currently.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just continue walking forward in through the up to the doorway.
Who is she? Where does she come from?
I'm like, why do wizards always do this, man? Why can't they just like let us come in?
Are you familiar?
How much experience have you had with wizards?
Not much, but I hear stories. They always just rub me the wrong way.
Just as I pass by, though. Yeah. Are you familiars?
Not really.
No, I'm asking.
Some people
the
I used to
owls.
travel with told me stories, but
I'm asking the owls.
no. Who's a real...
There's a great horned owl sitting on one of the chairs. Looking at you, Silva, it replies, "We are not familiars. We are real.
That
We
sounds
are
like
not
something.
of your realm." What is your purpose here? Where do you come from?
Like originally, where did we just travel from? It's a loaded question.
I expect no less than fair trickery from you. I ask your friends, where do you come from? Why are you here?
Well, in their
That
defense, they
directed
are
at
here
us.
for me.
Yeah. We come
Like,
from
does the owl like pointedly like ask the rest of us that question?
Yeah, it kind of looks around the room, breaking off eye contact from Silva, and looks around at all of you.
Well, I mean, we all come from multiple places ourselves, but the reason that we are here is due to a instance of a werewolf encounter that just happened in Galt, right outside of this tower. That we had some questions about because it seemed really weird, and this was a local wizard, local magic user that we figured we could convene with.
A barn owl up on one of the bookshelves calls down to you. A werewolf, you say? Lycanthropy, oh, awful mess. I hope nobody got hurt.
Well, that's kind of why we're
I would
here.
say that would be me. I need to be tested for lycanthropy.
Oh, the owls, a lot of the owls sort of shirk back a bit at you saying that, and the horned owl speaks again. You are a lycanthrope?
I hope
No.
not.
She was bit by it though, so we just want to be safe.
Ah, nasty business indeed. You were right to come here to seek the master's knowledge.
Cloud gun.
Yeah, it's quietly here.
The master knows much in the field of magical creatures. He will most assuredly know how to handle the bite of the lycanthrope.
Great. Where can we meet this master?
We have not seen him. He's usually upstairs in the master's quarters, but he hasn't come down in some time.
Some time. What are you talking about? A few days?
Probably
A
years.
tawny owl calls from above. We haven't seen the master in 6 years, 3 months, 17 days.
I lean over to Set. Are we sure he's not just gonna be dead?
He's a wizard. They have magic. They can conjure food. Like, it'll be fine.
Well,
If
how do we get
you-
upstairs? Yeah.
If you were to find the master for us, we would be so greatly appreciative. The door behind us usually leads to the next floor, as long as he has not changed it.
Great.
We
Well,
ourselves are not permitted to access the other floors. We were ordered by the master to stay here, and so here we stay.
Great. We'll keep heading up and hopefully meet this master of yours then.
Thank you for the help, you
Be
fine owl
careful.
folk.
The master has not always taken kindly to visitors.
Clearly.
It's a little foreboding. Silva, I think you should lead the way because you're good with magic.
Well, also, I am unfortunately, also the one who's inevitably brought us here, so.
Lead the way, Silva.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just begin moving down, or moving up.
Mm-hmm. You move past the assorted tables and chairs, and the owls perched on them do not move to stop you. They simply rotate their heads and watch as you go.
Okay.
Yep, get to the door and head on through it.
You approach the door. It appears to be a fairly standard wooden door. You take the handle in your hand and open it, and it swings wide. But there is no stairway. It leads instead into another room.
Okay. Can we proceed?
Yeah, I mean, we have little to no other option but to just, attempt to proceed.
Yeah. You enter through this door, and you find yourself in an enormous room with a large vaulted glass ceiling. You are surrounded by all kinds of exotic plant life, trees you have never witnessed before, vines and bushes and all kinds of exotic plants that sort of surround you and go around. And in between them, there are dozens upon dozens of these glass containers and cages of various shapes and sizes. Off in the distance, a babbling brook seems to sort of weave through with water gently going through it. You hear the call of birds off in the distance as sunlight peers through. It is like you're in this like enormous terrarium of sorts, uh, all contained within the room itself.
Ah, yes, always, always extra things.
We should stay cautious.
Well, yes.
As you walk, you see these different like glass enclosures, and many of them appear to have been opened. They look as if they once contained life, but are now empty. The sounds of jungle and forest life sort of echo and emanate around you in an impossible sense. The walls are all glass leading up into the ceiling, but they are obscured and you cannot see past them. There is a dedicated path that winds through this room. And at the end of the path on the other side of the room, there is another door. Though this one has been barricaded. A large cabinet has been like pushed in front of the door. The cabinet itself half filled with all kinds of various trinkets and items and skeletons of dead animals and books that are sort of spilling out of it. Several of them have fallen to the floor. And the cabinet sits directly in front of it, sort of blocking the way.
Shit, I'll be right back.
So, can we move it?
You could try to if you'd like.
Sure.
Make a strength check.
I'll help
Yikes.
Johannes with this.
Okay, so set with your assistance, you'll be able to roll that at advantage.
So I roll with advantage?
Yes.
I rolled a 2 times, apparently. So 3.
You attempt to move the cabinet out of the way, but it's clearly stuck. Like it just refuses to budge. This cabinet is like twice your height, at least.
Yeah.
And it just all that you succeed in doing is kicking up a cloud of dust as you attempt to move it, and it does not move.
Put my hands on my hips and say, "Well, I'm all out of ideas."
I'll pull my crowbar out and just give it a go myself, just trying to leverage against the wall next to it.
Right. Make your own strength check on that.
And then crowbar gives advantage, right? Grants advantage to strength checks where the crowbar's leverage can be applied.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, you'll get advantage on that.
19.
19. You wrench with the crowbar, and you hear a snap as something breaks. And the cabinet sort of shifts forward slightly. But there is a crack, and a few more items fall and smash onto the ground, falling out of the cabinet. And then you hear a hiss.
Oh.
But it doesn't come from the cabinet. It comes from behind you.
Around and look for the source of the sound.
On the wall, there's this huge sprawling web of creeping vines that have sort of made their way up the wall over the years. And tucked into the vines is a shape that you didn't catch at first. But looking at it now, you can see that it is vaguely humanoid, wrapped up in the vines. It is a human figure. And at the very top, you see a face peeking out, encased in vines and nettles. A single solitary eye, opened wide, bloodshot, peers down at you. And you hear a voice murmur from in between the vines. Run! You hear another smash as one of the glass cages further back behind you falls to the ground and breaks, shattering all over. The sound of birds squawking, animals chirping and shrieking intensifies as a few of the trees you had passed begin to shift and move in place. Roots upending themselves from the ground like feet. As these exotic trees begin to move and come alive behind you. And that is where we will end today's session.
It appears that they feel that you have cheated.
Yeah.
Next time we meet,
like that?
Our group within this wizard's tower finds themselves in a potential botanical battle. But we shall see what happens next time on Dragonmark Symphony. Thank you all for playing. Thank you all for watching. And remember, if you're ever going to go into a wizard's tower, ever, under any circumstances, bring a gift. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.